Good day, everyone. Steve Anderson here, and thanks for joining us for our upcoming webinar that's going to start here in just about 3 minutes. So you are in listen-only mode. That means you should be able to hear us loud and clear. We cannot hear you. That's to eliminate any background noise for the listening enjoyment of everybody online today. If at any time as we go through the presentation you have any questions, you're welcome to enter those in the question box in your control panel on your computer screen. And we will address those questions on a first-come, first-served basis at the end of the formal presentation. Before we get started here in about 3 minutes, let me mention a couple of other things. The webinar today will be recorded and will be posted at crowncouncil.org in the training section under webinars later today, so that if you have team members that were not able to participate today, that will be available ongoing for everyone to learn from, and as well as to be repeated. This webinar, as all, is packed with great information, including some specific verbal skills that you will not be able to write fast enough. So the webinar will be up for review so that you can use that to train and retrain as you move forward. Let me make just a couple of housekeeping announcements of upcoming events and things you might want to be aware of as we look forward throughout the year and actually into next year as well. First, as many of you know, we have launched the first of its kind in the Crown Council online program entitled Culture Builder. Culture Builder is an online assessment that you can use as an entire team that actually measures the culture in your practice. This is a first of its kind tool, never before available in dentistry, that was built specifically for the Crown Council. Our mission is to create a culture of success in your practice, and one of the essential ways to do it is you have to have a way to measure and get feedback on what kind of culture you really have and how healthy it is. Culture Builder allows you to get a organizational assessment, a report card, if you will, on the culture of success in your practice with specific then action items you can do to continually improve. It also includes the 360-degree assessment for each team member, which is a qualified member requirement. That is now all automated and can be done online, as well as there's an entire training library that is continually being added to that can be used on an individual as well as a group basis. So if you have not received your invitation for Culture Builder yet, call the Crown Council office at 800-276-9658, or you can email what should we email here, Greg, if they want information?
Success@crowncouncil.com works great.
Success@crowncouncil.com, and you can request your invitation, and we'll get you up and running with Culture Builder. So very excited about that. Those that have been engaged in it so far have had some great success. Next, as a reminder, the Crown Council annual event coming up in January this year in Salt Lake City, Utah. We're excited to return to Salt Lake, which is actually the home office of the Crown Council. Last time we were in Salt Lake was the same year we had the Winter Olympics in 2002. We've got an amazing event planned at an amazing 5-star venue at the Grand America Hotel. All the information can be found at ccannualevent.com, and that will continually be evolving as we announce new speakers and programming. If you have not registered yet, now would be an excellent time to do that. And then finally, coming up in September 17th through 18th, is the Total Patient Service Total Immersion course, with the goal to get the entire team on board with dentistry's best case acceptance skills. We consider this to be basic training for every Crown Council office and every Crown Council team member. So if you have new team members that have not attended Total Immersion, now would be an excellent time to do that, as well as if your team has never attended, you're welcome to join us in September. You can go to totalpatientservice.com for more information, or we'll have some additional information on this at the end of the webinar. With that, we're going to go ahead and get started with our webinar today. The topic today is the secret source for new patients, where we're going to talk about tapping into some of the most overlooked sources for an increase in production. With me today is Aaron Ganier, who is part of our Total Patient Service Practice Advisor team. Aaron's been a part of our team for many years. Was practically raised in the dental business, and as on a daily basis is in practices executing the ideas and systems and techniques that we'll talk about today. Everyone is totally on, always wants new patients. In fact, we considered calling this webinar today, Overcoming Your New Patient Addiction. We didn't go with that title, but that was one of the considerations. And so one of the things I'd like you to consider as we get started here is what your definition is for a new patient. We're going to redefine that today because within your existing patient base, there is a treasure trove of new patients. In other words, existing patients that have been in your practice for a long time, but because you treat them like an existing patient, there might be an opportunity to convert them into a new patient with new production and a whole new treatment plan. To show us how to do that, Aaron Ganier.
Thank you, Steve. Welcome, Crown Council members. It's good to be with you. I'm excited to be able to share some of the great things that Steve and I have been talking about and some of the things that I've been able to do in practices all throughout the country. I am blessed to be able to be in practices every day, and I get to see the front lines of what you guys are going through, from the front office team to the assistants to the hygienist to the doctor. So the discussion that we are going to be talking about today of new patients, less of this, more of that, less of this, old patients, new patients. We really want to dial down and consider all of the sources possible when it comes to finding new patients, but also looking to what we have in our current practices. I have some case studies or some results of some case studies that I'm going to be sharing so that you can see some real, tangible, real-time results that have happened over the last year. So when you think of new patients, I hear the same from everybody. It's the lifeblood of our practice. It's the best way, the only way, the easiest way. The dollar value is there, and I agree with all of those things. It's very important to have a steady flow of new patients. It's very important to be able to reach out to them, marketing and advertising, and the things that you do in the community to find, always be finding your new patients. And like Steve said, one of the things we are going to be talking about today is looking at your current practice and finding what you have and rediscovering, if you will, some of the new ways you can approach your patients. So, when we look at our old patient base, I hear this a lot. I hear, well, Aaron, we've been here a long time and we have really worked our patients. We keep track of them. Every time they come in, we talk to them about treatment. Or I hear, things around here are different in this part of the country. It's kind of dried up around here. There's a lot of competition. Or, you know what? A lot of our patients are healthy. We have a long-standing patient base, and I have seen them for years, and many of them are healthy. Or sometimes we feel like we're upselling our old patients. And then other times we get distracted. Sometimes new patients, and I say this reserved, but sometimes new patients can be a distraction, meaning we're so focused on that new patient by delivering the best customer care, the most amazing experience, giving them an office tour, making sure that everything we say and everything we do is dialed in. And so while that's very important, it can take us away from our older patients or our current patients that have been with us for a few years, or some of them many, many, many years. How are we treating them? And I wanted to talk about ways that you can connect with your old patients through the entire team. And so several of the slides that I'm going to be showing are going to be discussing areas of opportunity throughout the team. So when Steve and I were talking about this, I related a story to him. I recently bought my first home about a year ago, and I've been living in Dallas for about 5 years now. Moved down here from Portland, Oregon, to be closer to the Tops team, and so I had a lot of stuff in storage. And so when I bought my house, I moved everything in, and I'm still trying to unpack some of the basics. And a few weeks ago, I was looking, actually maybe a month ago, I was looking for some more storage area. And I remembered that I had these storage racks, so you can see where the bikes are hanging. That's a storage rack that I own, and I was looking up in my garage. I have a three-car garage, so there's plenty of space up in the ceiling to be able to put this. And I was thinking, where can I put this so I can get some of this stuff off the garage floor? And as I was looking, I saw this opening in the ceiling that I had never really seen before. Maybe I have, but I just didn't think about it. So I moved my wife's car out of the garage, and I got a ladder, and I reached up there, and there's a little tiny string hanging down that I never noticed, and I pulled that down, and lo and behold, I go up there, and the previous owner had finished that entire spot above a portion of our garage that was open for storage. And so from discovering something that I had, the storage rack, I discovered something that I wish I discovered when I moved in, because I could have put a lot of that stuff up there. But it was exciting to run into the house and tell my wife, honey, look what I found, look what I found. This is so exciting. We have something new. So I'm using that as my theme, as the story, for when Steve and I met to prepare to talk about this. We were originally talking about new patients and what do we need to do to find new patients. And then our discussion quickly went to what do we have with us that we could currently work. And so we talked about areas of identifying your current patient base. So as I put this together, and I was thinking about looking in our current patient base, a lot of the things came up to me that I remember when I worked into a practice. Oh my goodness, well, what are we going to uncover? Or where do we even start? I don't even know where to start. Or fear of the time and the follow-up and the energy, or fear of the system, or you know what, maybe we didn't have a system. Maybe it was so overwhelming because we had such a large patient base of 6,000 people, we didn't even know where to start. And so there was some fear of the fuss. And as I was preparing for this, I found this little comic, which I thought was funny, where it says, okay, we're just going to parachute in and do a quick audit without making a fuss. And I think, how many times are our intentions good, but we are fearful of reaching out as a team and discovering what we have in our own practice. Many of our patients, even though they're current, have not been in for 2 or 3 years. And so I ask the question, what system do you have to help you uncover those things? What system do you have to help you reignite the relationship with that patient that's been with you for a while? You know, we put so much time and energy and money into finding new patients. How much time and energy and money do we really put into working with our current patients? I imagine if you did the math and you figured out how much you're spending per new patient versus how much you're spending for your current patient, you would definitely see that your new patient volume, the amount of money that you spend on your new patient is much greater. So there's many things that you can do to work with your current patients, and we're going to be discussing some of those. So what do you do when you do an audit, or what do you do when you connect with your old patients? Where do you start? Well, I wanted to start with results. So instead of telling you and showing you what to do, I want to start right off the top with the results. So what we're looking at right here, we were able to do some evaluations, run some reports, do some digging in our dental software. And these are 2 practices that I work with here in the Dallas area. And practice 1, you can see, had low new patients. You can also see practice 2 had low new patients. So here's the interesting results that we found from just running just a couple small reports. From May 1st of 2013 to April 30th of 2014, this practice from their current patient base produced about $451,000. 1 year later, May 1st, 14 to April 2015, which had just ended, they were able to produce that 584,000, which is great. So they had an increase of 133,000 from their current patient base, which is fantastic because some of the things that we are going to be talking about today, the things that I'm going to show you, the tools that I'm going to give you, the action plan that you're going to be able to take back to your teams, are a few things that made all the difference in the world to these two practices. And I'm excited to show those to you. But before I do that, let me show you the other one, which is pretty fantastic. This is just this past year, ending April 30th of 2015. From their new patients, you can see the 267, but their current patient was over $1 million. And again, the systems and the things that I'm going to be showing you were the direct result of why that happened. So let's jump into that. I wanted to share those results to get you excited. So searching, looking, believe me, that didn't happen overnight, and there were several things that we had to do, and one of the very first things that you need to do is you need to have a plan on how to search. And so I came up with these 5 questions because these are the 5 questions that I am thinking about and the teams that I work with are thinking about when we tackle such a project, finding those patients that need treatment. So you can see it's 5 to 1. I'm going to start backwards, start with 1. Why are we looking? Well, think about it. We have a new patient flow. It's good, it's healthy, or maybe it's not so healthy. The 2 practices that I just showed you before, they had very low new patients. Between the 2 of those, they only average about 12 new patients a month, which is very low because I work with practices that average, over 40 a month. So knowing that our new patients were low, one of the first things we did, besides ramp up our marketing, was to look to our current patient base. Why are we looking? Well, we need to get some treatment on the books. We need to get that production. I know you guys know how that feels. I know we don't have very many new patients in, and what do? You look at each other, you have a team meeting, you do a chart audit, you do specific things to try to find those patients. So looking is the very first thing that you guys have to commit to, because if you're not committed to looking, it's not going to happen. So where do we find willing patients that buy? When do we identify opportunities with patients? What are we doing to create a desire for what we offer? And who on the team is actively participating in daily chart audits? So I'm going to jump to 5, because right now I want you guys to think in your own practices, who is actively participating in chart audits? Now, I threw that word daily in there because I wanted you to realize and make a note that it is something that needs to be done regularly. When I originally typed this up, I didn't have that daily in there. It was just who's actively participating in chart audits. And a chart audit, yeah, we look at that paper chart or we look at the computer screen and we think, again, where do I begin? Well, there are specific things that you have to be able to do, but the first thing you got to do is actively assign someone that's going to do it in the team. If nobody's responsible, then it's not going to happen. I know one practice that started where every team member committed, including the doctor, 1 chart audit a day per employee. And for them, that's where they needed to start. Nothing less than 1. They figured, you know what, we can all commit in our day, 8 hours here, 4 days a week. If it's a team of 10 and we're doing it, let's get some of those numbers down. And so they were actively able to do a chart audit. So what do you do when you look at a chart audit? There are very specific things that you need to do. But again, I want to focus on actively participating and making a commitment to use that chart audit. Because the other things that you're going to be looking for, what are you doing to create what we offer, and how do you identify opportunities? If you think about it, when you look into those charts, when you look into those patients who've been with you, some of them have been in regularly, some of them haven't been in for a while. What are you looking for? The first thing I always tell my teams is to look for the identify the opportunities that are bright and shining and right in your face, whether it's existing treatment that hasn't been moved forward with, or whether it's other alternative treatments, like maybe you have 6-month smiles that have been on the in the treatment plan for 2 or 3 years, or Invisalign. How are you going to identify those opportunities? Because without those, hygienists, assistants, if you sit a patient down and you're ready to talk to them, you don't know what you're going to be talking about unless you're able to really look and identify specific opportunities with that patient. A little bit later in some slides, we're going to talk about some great verbiage to talk to those patients about. But again, where do we find willing patients that will buy? Everything is right there with your chart, because everybody knows all of the detail, and I know all of you keep lots of detail about your patients. But it's what do you do with that? What do you do with your current patient base and the information that you have? Well, one of the things I want you guys to consider is being that detective. Because if you don't know what's happening, you don't know how to help your patients move forward with treatment. And if you think about that who, what, when, where, why, if I know that going into seeing my next hygiene patient or into seeing my next patient where we can identify the next step, you're going to have a lot better success and a lot better results. So one point I want to make for the front office team, a lot of times I know you guys say, because I've seen it and I've done it, there's lots of existing treatment in the charts. And many times you guys are scratching your head and thinking, well, did the back office team talk to them? Did the hygienist, the assistant, the doctor, did anybody talk to them about this treatment? Again, if we don't have that morning opportunity meeting and identify those opportunities, and then you, the front office team, is the one that has to bring it up, it's going to be lost in translation. That urgency is not going to be there, and you're going to miss the opportunity. So realize what you have, talk about it before the patients come in. I know you guys know how to do a chart audit. I know you probably have systems in your practice right now to be able to find what you need to be looking for. So let's talk about increasing the opportunities from our current patient base. We're going to shift gears just a bit, and I want to focus on just a few things other than that chart audit that we can increase our opportunities. So I know most of us, if not, I imagine all of us, send out our unused insurance benefit letter at the end of the year, or in September or October. Well, many of my teams here, we're ramping up to get this sent out right now, because think about it, it's the halftime show, it's the halftime game, it's halfway through the year. You guys, we are almost in July, and many of you have patients that have not even been in this year. In fact, write this down. That would be a good report. Go and find out through your dental software system how many patients that are currently active that have still not even been in our practice this year. That is a great place to start. Obviously, when you do this unused benefits, you're gonna pull that report of people with insurance benefits. Obviously, if some have come in, go ahead and take that off, those patients off, and go ahead and send the unused benefits to those who haven't been in. But you could also consider maybe someone came at the beginning of the year and we need to reach out to them again. The point I want to make about this is, if you think your patients can hear or see something one time and it's just magically stuck in their head and it magically gets on the calendar and it magically, oh my gosh, it's October, I guess got this flyer from Dr. So-and-so's office, I need to get in. You're tricking yourself. We as human beings, we need more frequency of connection. We need that relationship. We need that ability to see things several times. And number two, how often do you reach out to your current patient base? Again, I want to focus on that current. I know many of you do a monthly newsletter by email. I know many of you do newsletters or emails, whether it's through Facebook or whether it's through other forms of media, smile reminders, demand force. Connecting with your patients is a good way to keep you on the top of their mind. So consider the following. I am a fan of physical, seeing something tangible to be able to have it. when you mail something, it has more staying power. You've all received a text, you've all received an email. So many times you'll be looking at that text or that email, and then guess what? The next text comes in, the next email comes in. You click off it, it becomes a red item, and then you don't really consider it because it doesn't have the indicator that it's an unread mail, and it simply goes away. So consider sending something to them quarterly that is printed. Make it fun. Don't just make it plain and boring. You need to be able to connect with your patients. I gave 4 options there. Make it educational, nurture them or make it personal, provide a promotion of some sort, whether it's something attached to something like Smiles for Life or whether it's something attached to a contest that you're doing. And then obviously you have your office news. Now, I'm going to share one quick example of a team that I worked with. Every time they send something out on their newsletter, it kind of has a little bit of all of these things. So it involves the reader. There's nothing greater than a paragraph, and many of the things are bullet points, and there's lots of pictures. And one of the things that really stuck out to me with this team is on one of the personal side, or they actually sent their favorite recipe. Dr. So-and-so's favorite Christmas cookie recipe, or whatever works for you, but showing that your patients, that there's a different side to you than only dentistry, and look what we can do, and look at this new technology. Many times it's great to reach out to your patients, increase the opportunities so that they can see you. Now, obviously in the newsletter you can put things like, hey, the summer's approaching, or hey, fall is approaching. If you haven't been in, come on in and use your insurance benefits. Those are all things that you can put in your newsletter. Remember, this is your current patient base. How often do you reach out to your current patient base? 3, review the frequency of reaching out to your about-to-be-due patients. So here in the next few slides, I'm going to show you some ways to reach out to them. But what I've created for you guys, and I've given that to Greg already and Steve, we're going to make it available to you, is an outline in a PDF that shows you the frequency of how to reach out to your patients. Many times I've been in practices where we see they keep track of their patients, and then once Dentrix or the software says, okay, these people are due, then we call them. And the point I want to make here is, don't wait for your dental software to tell you that they're due. Have a written outline of how you are going to reach your patients. Think about it. Every one of you have had patients this past several weeks, probably even today, that walked out of the practice. They had their teeth cleaned today, they had treatment done today, and they don't have a continuing care appointment. They don't have the next cleaning because you know it. I'm busy, I don't know my calendar, and they give you the excuse and they get out. Well, what is your written system? What's outlined? What's bullet pointed? How are you going to reach out to those patients? Who is going to do it? And when are you going to do it? At what frequency? So that handout will be made available, but I wanted to touch on that as far as increasing the opportunities of connecting with your patients, because we're always looking to fill our schedules in the future. And then number 4, I had to put that one in there. I'm sure all of you know what this is. If you don't, we need to help you find out how to pull that report. But unscheduled treatment, try doing it just for this year. If you don't want to be overwhelmed, and I mean that, just go January 2015 today, May 13th, and find out how many patients that you have unscheduled treatment. Now, what's your plan with that? How are you going to reach out to those patients? What are you going to do to be able to connect with them? And are you going to be treating them just as good as you do your new patients? In talking about increased opportunities, I wanted to briefly touch upon our CUBE formula. Future production. How do you build and sustain sustainable growth, if you will? Well, many of you, I know, ask for referrals. And so here is a simple formula, 2, 2, 2. I'm going to start down right there in the middle, 2 referrals a day, because I would imagine most of you are asking for referrals every day. Now, one thing that I have noticed, when you have something tangible as a team to be able to give to your patients, it's much easier and it happens much more often from the team member asking and remembering to do it than if you just have a physical, verbal, a verbal, hey Sally, we love patients like you. We need more patients like you. Who do you know that you could refer to us? Instead of something verbal, you're going to have something that you can print and give to them, so that they can take that with them. Make it special, make it reserved, make it feel like these are rare and we don't have very many of these. Reviews. That's something that we added. We've always asked for referrals. We've always talked about doing a conversion exam, which Steve's going to talk about here for a couple minutes here coming up. But let me talk about reviews really briefly. If you want to help build future new patients into the practice, one thing you have to do is reach out and touch, reach out and talk to, reach out and connect with your current patients. They are your biggest fans. I know many of you tell me stories about things that you guys do and how much your patients love you. And I want to remind you, the best time to ask for a review or a referral is when your current patient gives you a compliment. You're in the hygiene chair, they look at you and they say, you know, Patty, I've got to tell you, I've been to lots of offices and I've had lots of cleanings throughout the years, and you are by far the best, nicest hygienist I've ever had. I wish everybody knew about you. Right then and there, that's when you go in and ask for that review. That's when you go in and ask for that referral. If you can remember that, every time they give you a compliment, that's the perfect time to be able to go and ask for those reviews. Because if they're your biggest fans and they tell the world about it, whether it's through Facebook, because you can write reviews on Facebook and all the Facebook community can see those things, whether it's on Yelp, whether it's on Google, those are going to go out to the community. Because if you think about it, all of you live and work in a community. And I always like to look at reviews as, what is the community saying about you? So focus on the community and reaching out to your future patients with your current patients. Conversion exams. That is something that is very, very important. It's a tool that we absolutely use. In fact, it's a tool that Steve talks about at our immersion courses. In fact, we have one coming up in September, and he takes some time to be able to show and talk about and discuss how do you talk to an old patient, a current patient, and move them forward. How do you get somebody who has existing treatment, or the things I hear, Aaron, let me tell you, at 2 o'clock we've got Bob coming in, and let me tell you, Bob's been a patient for 10 years, and I don't think he's going to be moving forward with treatment. I mean, I think we talk to him about it all the time, and he says we shouldn't even talk to him about it. Well, there's some specific tools that we use, and one of those tools is the conversion exam. There's actually, we've created a skill card for it. You see that on your screen right now. And this conversion exam is something that you can do that is so powerful that the results, going back to the results from one of the practices here locally, when I first started with them a little over a year ago, one of the first things that they said to me was, well, Aaron, I just want you to know, or we want you to know that, you know, we've been here for going on 28 years, and we've worked our current patient base. We have a good system in place, and we've really connected with them. And so I really don't know how we're going to convert those patients. And then I was able to bring them to a total immersion. Their whole team came to a total immersion. I happened to be there, and Steve was obviously there, and we talked about this, and that's where we launched the conversion exam. So I wanted Steve to talk briefly about the conversion exam.
All right. So here's the context of this. Is when a new patient comes in the first time and you walk through the entire new patient experience with them, and we uncover their perceived needs, what they want, and then we treatment plan based on the diagnosis and what they want. And patients accept some of it, some accept all of it, some accept none of it. But the temptation is then, once we've gone through that initial experience, then we proceed to then treat them the same way we perceive them from that very first visit. So here's what I'd like you to consider. If you think back, we're now, we're in the middle of May, May 13th, 2015. I'd like you to think back 4 years from today. So that would be middle of May 2011, 4 years ago. And I'd like you to think about how your life circumstances were different 4 years ago from how they are today. And the question would be, have things changed? Is there anything in your life that has changed in the last 4 years? Did you get married? Did you get divorced? Have you changed jobs? Have you changed where you live? Do you have a spouse that got a new job, got a raise, or got demoted? Have you have any family health issues in the last 4 years? And for most of us, in a 4-year period of time, there are significant things that have changed. So that being the case, when circumstances change, then decision-making criteria changes. So that patient that you did a comprehensive exam on 4 years ago and went through and you talked about their needs and wants and desires, if it's now been 2, 3, 4 years since then, I guarantee you that for 80% of your patients, there have been significant enough changes in their lives that their decision-making criteria has changed. So therein lies the opportunity to start over. That's why we've always called this the conversion exam, is we're going to convert an existing patient into the equivalent of a new patient and have that same conversation with them, or a new patient-like conversation, to understand what their decision-making criteria is today. So bottom line point here is, just because you know them, just because you did a comp exam on them 3 years ago, doesn't mean that everything is the same as it was 3 years ago. Their life circumstances have changed, and they deserve an opportunity to restate and give you an update on where they are, what's important to them, and what they'd like to do to move forward. If we keep treating them the same, then they'll keep doing the same thing. We give them an opportunity to speak up and give us an update, then we'll treat them differently and their behavior will change. So that's the purpose of the conversion exam, is to give them an opportunity to update you on what they want, what they perceive to need, and how they would like their future to look. Aaron?
Awesome. So let me give you a real life example that happened, 3 weeks ago, and it will continue tomorrow. So one of the teams that I work with, actually, it was actually practice one that I showed you. They increased 133,000 from their current patient base. They had a long-standing patient that came in for his regular visit about 3 weeks ago, and met with the hygienist, has a great relationship with him, and we started here, the conversion exam. And one of the first things the hygienist did before she did any of her hygiene things was just to sit down and have a conversation with the patient and find out what had changed or what mattered most to that patient. And lo and behold, we watched this conversion exam unfold. And I'm proud to say that this team worked hard. The doctor came in, we had great relationship links, we had great connections, and this patient is coming in tomorrow to do a $23,000 case, something that he has wanted for a very long time. And yes, we did not know it. We absolutely did not know it. This is not something that was treatment planned in the past. But just talking to him, his life circumstances has changed, and he's going to come in tomorrow. So very excited about that, that real life story. So I got to give you a warning, because Steve says it's in his seminars. He picked 2 a day. That's why I go back to the cubed. 2 conversion exams so powerful. Sometimes you don't know where to put your patients. But realize if you need to do more than two, because this is where you need to increase your production, then by all means, make a commitment. This same practice that I'm talking about, they made a commitment to do a conversion exam with every available patient that they could with regards to time and what they found out about in their patient, in their through their chart audit. So great story. Thank you, Steve. Second part, patients who don't have a scheduled appointment. Again, let me go back. When was the last time you ran a report? I already gave you that assignment. I'm going to repeat it. Go back and find out who hasn't even been in your practice this year. That is a great place to start. An instant action item. I imagine some of you are probably already chomping at the bit to pull that report. But realize that is a source of amazing revenue. And all you need to do is reach out and connect with them. Find out by being a detective what your chart says about that patient, what mattered to them the most when they were here last time, what mattered to them, what's important to them, where did we leave off. Sometimes you'll be surprised. We were the ones that dropped the ball, and we were the ones that were supposed to connect with that patient, and they're just waiting for us to call. So find out those patients that don't have a scheduled appointment. Again, I have a handout that you guys are going to be getting. It's geared towards hygiene on how to have a system to connect to those patients that do not have a scheduled hygiene appointment. So let's shift gears. Let's go to communication. There's definitely some positive things to say, and there's definitely some negative things to say out there. But connecting with your patients, many of you, I'm sure, that are listening, I've been in some of your practices, and you know what I say about communication. It is the cornerstone of what we do. You can't do anything without effectively communicating with your patient. And when I look at the pictures, I'm thinking the little white guy with the can that's on the ground. Who's even listening? Is your patient listening? Or the gal right to the right of him? She's got her hands like, I don't understand, or what are you saying, or what are you talking about? Are you effectively communicating with your patients, especially your current patient base? Because here's the trap. We think because we know them, because they talk to us about their hunting trip or their trip to Hawaii, or our kids play baseball together, whatever it might be, because we know them, we think that whatever we say, they just understand and know us. They're a current patient base. Of course they know that we do implants and 6-month smiles and Invisalign. Of course they do. Why wouldn't they know? Well, some of these services we've added since they've been a patient. And when they come in to see you, equally they're there for that relationship. So you got to have a way to be able to connect and communicate with those patients. Are they wanting what we have? And are we communicating in an effective way where they want to buy? Proven skills from hello, or it's nice to see you again, to okay, let's move forward, let's do that. Similar to that story that I told you about the gentleman coming in tomorrow. So let's talk about some of those negative or those no things. These were just some of my favorites. I'm calling just because we noticed you're past due for your cleaning, please give us a call so we can get you on the books. Maybe that's a message that you leave. When was the last time you analyzed what you're saying on the phone when you leave a message? Sometimes because it's a message, we don't get as friendly or kind, and it's you're due, come on in, give us a call. Our records indicate you're overdue. Please call our office so we can schedule your cleaning. Or maybe towards the front office. What are we saying to our patients, our current patients who've been with us a long time? You know, Mark, your insurance only covers 50% of that, which means you'll still owe $250. So here's a little thing that we do. Whenever it's a plus, we say the savings is in dollar form. Hey, great news, Bob, you're going to save $250. Now, on the opposite side, when there is a portion that's owed by the patient, we just drop off that dollar sign, or the words dollars, we say, and you're responsible for $325. Okay? So think about what you guys are saying. Analyze, is there something negative coming out of our mouths, whether it's the hygienist, the assistant, the front office? We are all guilty at times because our current patients know us best, and guess what? If you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. Oh, you're right. Oh, wow, you know what? It only covers at 50%. Oh, well, then I don't want to do it. Oh, okay, Bob. And then we kind of move on from our current patient base because we don't want to upset them. They already know us. Did you want to go ahead and get those fillings done today? I hear that a lot. Now you can put fillings, you can put crown, you can put cleaning, you can put whatever. We're converting someone from having fillings done today, and the assistant looks the patient in the eye and says, so Bob, we had a change in our schedule. Do you want to get your teeth cleaned today? Stop using words like that, do you want? Try using other things, and we're going to talk about some of those things. So analyze what you're saying. Are you asking closed-ended questions, open-ended questions? A closed-ended question is, do you want to get that scheduled today, or do you want to get that done today? Do you want to get your teeth? No, no, I don't. I really don't. Last one there. I'm following up with you so we can get you scheduled for that crown you needed. Nobody likes to be followed up with. Use different words. Use things that really connect with a patient. So here are some positives. Right there at the top. Sally, Bob, Joe, I wanted to personally reconnect with you about those cavities. You know, you're going to have your pleasantries before, and then you're going to have a discussion after, but these are some key things that are great things to say to keep it positive. You know, let's plan for this by finding a time that works with your schedule so we can get rid of that infection in your gums. So if this is same-day treatment and it's turning into, you know, more than just a cleaning, and you don't have time to do it that day, don't let them just go away and get scheduled. Talk to them, say, let's plan for this. Let's find a time that works, and then give them a reason why. Don't just say, hey, let's get you scheduled, let's get you scheduled. Give them a reason why. Anytime you can give a reason why you're having a discussion, it is more personal. That's why the next one says, I'm worried about you. And that tooth that has, you finished the sentence. Let's take care of this today while you're here. How does that sound? Or most people like to have first pick for the times that will fit their schedule. Let's find a time today for your next cleaning and reserve it now. So many times I hear hygienists say, so do you want to get that scheduled 6 months out? Or I know, you know, in 6 months, let's get that scheduled. And we kind of fumble about what we say. What I challenge you to do is write something down, make it yours, own it, make it amazing, and use it every time with your patients and see what kind of luck you'll have with your patients by filling their minds with positive things. Think about it. Most people like to have first pick. Who doesn't want to be first in line and have first pick? Everybody does. So one of the last things I wanted to address was verbal skills, because if you think about it, just about everything we're talking about with your current patients is what comes out of our mouth. We know that they love you. We know you love them. But how do you take your patient that has not really moved forward with treatment, or not really felt that there was a need, because every time we come in, we talk about the family, or we talk about something. The challenge I give to you today is draw a line in that sand. When you go in for pleasantries, when you go in to talk to that patient, doctor, assistant hygienist team, connect with your patient and then draw that line in the sand and make a shift towards, now Bob, I want to talk to you about something that concerns me, and just make that change. Well, how do you do it? We have a little formula that we follow, and it is extremely effective. In fact, you can see down there. I'm going to read it out loud, and I want you to follow along. I'm sure many of you have already, and you're probably recording it now. I'm worried about the size of that cavity, as you point to the photo or x-ray. It has nearly doubled or gotten bigger or increased in size since you were here 9 months ago. I'm not comfortable watching it spread, especially into that healthy tooth next to it. Again, as you point to that photo or x-ray. I strongly recommend we get that cavity out of your mouth. In fact, I know your time is valuable, so let's save you a trip back here and take care of this today. How does that sound? When you use a sentence like this, and it's coming from you, and it's heartfelt, and I already know you, and I've been coming here for 5 years, that is what makes an impact on me, because I already trust you. And when you give me the idea of what's going on, by showing me something, because maybe in the past we haven't been very good showing our current patients. We talk to them about treatment, whether it's existing or new, but we're not showing something. Little fact that I love to talk about all the time, about 70% of the population has to physically see something for it to really sink in. So think about it. How many times are you really showing your current patient base? I know you show your new patients, rather you should be. But if it's someone that's been there 5 years, do you actually pull up those identifying areas so that you can show them what's gotten bigger, what's increased in size, what's nearly doubled? And you guys can use that with, be conservative. You don't want to fear monger or scare people. That's not what this is about. This is about connecting with your patients who already trust you and then giving them that option. Because when you say the words, I'm not comfortable watching that spread, because we know what happens. We know things spread. And then giving them a way to get it done. What's your recommendation? And then let's save you a trip back here and take care of this today. That makes sense to people, and especially to your current patients, because they think you just did something amazing for them. You're saving them a trip back. Thank you so much. You're taking care of this today. I feel like you took extra care of me because this is something that we are able to do today. They don't know what your schedule's like. Whether you use the verbiage, we had a change in our schedule or not, when they hear that, they're thinking, okay, I'm going to do that. So when you take that into consideration of creating urgency, you see those 3 steps. I'm concerned about what? What are you concerned about? If you're not concerned about anything, consider this. The patients who know you, they're not going to be concerned about anything. If you don't make a recommendation, what actions do they have to follow up on? You can talk about something, but if you don't recommend it, you need that recommendation to be able to sink in. And then when you attach a time frame to it, this is my favorite part. Many, many, many offices, even the offices that I coach, and I know many of you who are listening are probably smiling right now, we forget to attach a time frame. We get busy. We think because they already know us that they're just going to do everything that we say. But if you don't attach that time frame, I want to see you back here, Bob, by next Friday. I want to see you by the end of this month. Or look to your assistant, your hygienist, and say, Sally, will you see if my 2 o'clock tomorrow is still available? That helps that patient think, wow, this really is urgent. So those are some verbal skills that you can take and actively move the needle so that you can have an increase in production from your current patients. So let's recap your action plan. Didn't want to give you too many things, but you have 3 basic areas. 1, rediscover what you have. I rediscovered my silly attic up above my garage, and I was jumping for joy. I want you to jump for joy too, and you do that by evaluating and auditing, making it a team effort. Run some reports that show you basic results, because those results staring in your face will give you the feeling, that ammunition to be able to go and make something happen. 2, increase your opportunities. What's your plan to reach out to your current patients? How often do we connect with them? Are we doing conversion exams with them? Are we asking them for referrals and reviews? Are we using them in a good way to help us bring more patients into this place that they love so much? And number 3, I see a spelling error right there. It should be number 3, not number 2. Communicate urgency. What are we doing when it comes to creating urgency? Are we just talking about the small talk and the personal things, or are we actually drawing a line in the sand and making it aware to that patient? So those are your actions right there. I'm going to leave it on that slide for a little bit, but I know that there's probably some questions that you may have. I'll try to ask some that I can. I know our time is short. You can also email those questions and we can get these to you. We do have an outline on how to connect with your patients, but I wanted to turn the time over to Steve and Greg and find out what kind of action is happening out there.
You got it. Thanks, Aaron. So just as a recap, here is the focus. With as much energy and time as we put on new patients, which is absolutely critical, time needs to be set aside for mining the new patient opportunities. If I could leave you with one particular area, is always be looking every day in your morning meeting for the conversion exam opportunities, 2 a day, which 2 patients you're going to ask for a referral, which 2 patients you can ask for a review. And if that becomes part of your habit pattern in your morning meeting, then those habits will continue to be part of everything you do every day. There are 2 things to wrap up. There will be the summary sheet available with the webinar that Aaron discussed on crowncouncil.org later today. We'll send out an email when that has been posted, as well as just a reminder, Aaron, if you want to flip to the next slide, is we consider and have for many, many years now the total experience, the total immersion experience to be basic training for every Crown Council member office. That means every dentist, every team member needs that experience because it's the foundation for really everything that we do in the Crown Council. So if you have team members that haven't attended, maybe your team hasn't attended, this fall is the time to do it, September 17th and 18th. It's in Fort Worth, Texas. You fly into the DFW airport. 2 days of action-planned, action-packed case acceptance, some of the best case acceptance verbal skills in dentistry. So you can give the Total Patient Service Institute a call at 877-399-8677 or email answers@totalpatientservice.com for any questions or any more details. Thanks for joining us today for our webinar. I think we've loaded your boat today with plenty of things to do to go mine your existing patient base to turn them into new patients. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us today. We'll catch you next time at our next webinar.